are creeping up on the next release from American Pinball, Cuphead. Are you excited about it? No? I didn't think so.
Now in 4K.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel where I talk and do everything pinball. So if that sounds interesting to you, then hit the subscribe button down below. Now, a shout out that I want to do right now is towards those of you out there that have purchased the 10,000 subscribers t-shirt. I just got finished getting the summary of sales for the last month, and I did not expect to sell as many as I did. So thank you very much, guys, for the support. It's very much appreciated. So before I go talking about like American Pinball's like potential future, I feel like I need to get everybody, or a good chunk of you, kind of like caught up on some of the highlights of American Pinball over the last couple of years. And now granted, I've got bullet points, and not all of these are probably going to be in like chronological order or anything, but it's merely the fact of pointing out some of these things that kind of helps put the puzzle together. Let's go all the way back to just Galactic Tank Force, okay? You know it, and I know it, that this game did not sell very well. There was a lot of known issues mechanically, as well as just enjoyability among us pinball enthusiasts out there. There's those of you out there that own it, enjoy it, good. I'm glad you're happy with it. But a lot of us didn't like the idea of having to avoid up the middle shots in fear of losing our ball, and among other things. But I digress. And I'm sure, David, if you're watching this, which you probably are, that you're probably going, he doesn't know it didn't sell very well. No one knows that didn't sell very well. You would be amazed at what I actually know and what information has been divulged to me, and I obviously cannot give you exact figures, and I'm definitely not going to give you all the information I know, because that would definitely tell you what my sources are. But I do have enough information here to let you know, just off the top of my list here, they've sold 740-ish Houdinis, 420-ish Oktoberfests, only 31 signature Galactic Tank Forces, and they have over 150 signature editions that they need to dump, okay? And for those that don't know, the signature edition is their top tier with the tank treks and all that stuff on it that was priced too high. I don't even remember the price, but it was at a point to where I'm just like, no, it turns into a tank. No one cares. But anyways, going back to around February of this year, there was rumors circulating that Dennis Nordman was no longer working with American Pinball. Now, when this started to come around, I even requested a comment from Dennis, and he didn't give me anything. He just didn't comment on it. He just didn't respond to me. I saw that he saw it, but he didn't respond. I wasn't going to beg him for the information, but by not responding, it was almost a confirmation that he was no longer working with them. I'm sure it was one of those things where he was like, I don't need to tell everything, all that kind of stuff. So, but it wasn't until I'm guessing that Dennis listened to a particular podcast where David Fix pretty much kind of like threw Dennis underneath the bus, and then Dennis decided to like come out and basically go bullshit and let all the truth come out. But before I get into like discussing what Dennis's response was, let me go over a couple of other little bullet points that kind of like point to American Pinball at least struggling. So up here we have the fact that, you know, AP announced that they did their proprietary boards after Galactic Tank Force, and they spent in the six-figure mark on R&D to make these boards, so that way they would be able to have their own board sets. They wouldn't have to rely on a third party, and they wanted these boards to be backwards compatible with all of their other games in case they decided to do another run and all that. But the only game that it didn't work with was their most recent Galactic Tank Force. And then it's also even more funny is that they wanted these boards to be compatible with their old games, and we're about to get to it, is that they no longer are going to be making their old games. So they also made some new hires throughout the year. They hired Maurice as a service tech, who has been since laid off. Let's see here. Then they decided to release Barbecue, a game that would sell even worse than Galactic Tank Force. I mean, seriously, I have sources that have told me that they literally, when I say they, I mean American Pinball, went several weeks this summer without selling a single game. Now, if that was all games or Barbecue, I didn't clarify that. But either way, not good. And then to add to this, we've also had the whole rumor that they were trying to look for an investor. That American Pinball was basically on the market. Like Amtron was trying to dump them. They're done with it. They want somebody else to buy them to take over. And this was confirmed later on that yes, they were looking for an investor. But why else would somebody be looking for an investor? Money. And then at some point, David Fix was in the UK doing like a seminar, I want to say with the guys at Pinball News, and I still remember him talking about this, about how when he started in the company and how they were in the red or in the black, and he was talking about, how things were fiscally, and then he was talking about, by the end of this year, we might be in the red, we might be in the black, it doesn't matter. That still flabbergasts me enough to where I'm like, no, it matters. But along with being in the red or the black, he mentioned, and he said this himself, that Amtron looks at American Pinball. And just for those that don't know, Amtron is the parent company of American Pinball. Amtron, they develop, board sets and, dealing with like semiconductor stuff like that. Anyways, Amtron looks at American Pinball as if like an adult still living at their parents' house. They're basically giving them money, but they're really hoping that any moment now they're going to like be self-sufficient and be able to go out on their own. But that is yet to come to fruition at this point.
I said don't disturb you, I'm cleaning my room!
And then at some point before Pinball Expo of this year, we get this post from Dennis Nordman on his personal Facebook page. And he goes over the things that David Fix mentioned at on a podcast. And basically, this is his rebuttal to that. And a part of me wants to like read this verbatim. But because Dennis basically does everything verbatim of what David Fix says on podcast. And if you've ever listened to David Fix on a podcast, he does a lot of, and he kind of goes back and forth. He's tiptoeing about on what he can and can't say. And evidently, after reading this, not only is he tiptoeing around what he can and what he can't say, he's also more than likely friggin' lying. So as much as I want to read this verbatim, it's going to be difficult. So I'm going to try to put it into terms that's much more fluid. So this is Dennis Nordman reiterating what David Fix said on a particular podcast. Well, his post begins like this. I recently became aware of what David Fix said about me in his interview with Pinball News on May of 2024. This is verbatim. Dennis is a young guy. He kind of came to us and was like, I could be doing better by staying home and doing a little bit more, being this and doing that, the other things, kicking it around a couple of times. And then he said, hey, this is what we want to do. We want to lay you off. We want to put you on contract basis. We want to build your game. It's not the hot priority now. It's not shelved. It's other little things that can be done. Let's talk about this and have a contract made up, and we'll contract base this. And you are well open to come in and, do what you need to do. And let's do this. But, we gotta kind of lay you off from the day to day. And even me reading it just the way I did hurts my mind. And I'm sorry, guys, if you couldn't follow that. But basically, in a nutshell, David Fix was like, hey, we gotta lay you off. We got other things that we want to get done, but we want to keep you and bring you on a contract basis. That's basically the logistics of it. And then this is what Dennis Nordman decided to say in his response to this. So here's Dennis saying this. None of this is true. I have no contract with American Pinball. AP was not honoring my original contract, so I told Fix I was going to work from home more days per week. I wanted to see my game go into production. It is an unlicensed theme, but it's a theme that everyone is familiar with. And it has an amazing playfield. It was way ahead of barbecue in development, but Mr. Fix decided to put barbecue in front of it. They offered me a contract that was completely unacceptable. They said if I did not accept that contract, I would be terminated. I asked why, and they didn't have enough money to pay me. Do you mean if I don't sign this contract, I'm terminated? And they said yes. I walked out. That's where it stands today. I have nothing to do with American Pinball. Mr. Fix told other people at AP that he would be bringing me back to finish game number 2 in June or July. Of course, that didn't happen. I have 6 or 7 games at various companies that will probably never be produced, and he lists basically where the game's at and what condition that they're in. And he says, currently I'm working on a new game of my own design with 2 other industry professionals, and the goal is selling it to a manufacturer for production. I'm not ready to quit yet. I'm hoping all of that made sense, guys. I know of having to read things verbatim of what people said is a little bit difficult, a little tricky sometimes. But you know, it's where you're seeing this information as I'm giving it to you, that obviously AP has a financial issue when it comes to paying their employees, when it comes to paying their vendors, when it comes to paying like contractors, when it comes to paying their media content creators. I'm staring into your soul there, guy. You know who I'm talking to. There's always an issue when it comes to paying their bills on time. And it's not a complete shock that, you know, with a company that is having financial problems, that they're not going to keep a veteran designer like Dennis Nordman on a salary basis or anything. And they're going to keep Ryan McQuay because he's an entry-level technician. Okay, it's just facts. If you have more experience, then technically, more than likely, you're going to be getting paid more. So chances are they kept Ryan McQuay because he's an entry-level designer, but that's where it's at on that. So then let's get to Expo, okay, guys? And Expo, American Pinball, the real estate that they had at Expo was pretty much on par with the amount of space that Stern had, okay? Not as much, but they had a great deal of space. And they had their Galactic tank forces there, they had some barbecues there, and they spread them out. And you had like 3 of their signature editions under one canopy, and it might have just been the luck of the draw for me, but I never saw those games being played. And then you had, like I said, a bunch of their other games spread out, and what this did was allow traffic to flow smoothly through there. But it also highlighted the fact that their games weren't really getting as much attention as other games were on the floor. So then Expo ends, and then we get told that they were going to be retiring Oktoberfest, meaning they're not going to be making it anymore. And that's not too surprising. I mean, it wasn't really a favorite from what American Pinball created. I mean, you're going to find out, as I'm telling you, every game has an issue of some sort. Then as we creep around like the Halloween time, they basically advertise that every game in their catalog is discounted for a Halloween event by knocking off like $500 or whatever dollars on their, MSRP. Big sale for all of their games. It seems like they're really trying to dump their inventory. And then we get notified that every game is going to be retired, except for Hot Wheels, Galactic Tank Force, and Barbecue. That is a horrible lineup, if you ask me, but that's subjective to an extent. So the question gets asked, how did we get here? How is American Pinball in the position that they're currently in? And it's pretty easy, guys. Amtron is paying their bills, paying their labor, paying pretty much for everything because they're making nothing on selling their pinball machines right now. Anything that they do sell is not profit because they're so far in the hole. There's just no way. When you have the numbers that I have, there's just no way. So along with Amtron paying the bills, you have someone there making all the decisions. And the majority of these decisions are just bad. Okay? I mean, every game release, there's one big major flaw in every single one. And it's like, really? I have to just kind of step back and go, why? Again, walk me through this, but there's always something that just falls on its face. And it's obvious to the rest of us, but for whatever reason, isn't obvious to the person that thinks he knows what us pinball enthusiasts want. He thinks he knows what we want, but he couldn't be more wrong. It's like, you almost have something so good, guys, and then you find a way to screw it up. The person that is running American Pinball right now doesn't have the proper experience to be in the position that he's in. And this is not just me. I speak to multiple people across multiple different manufacturers who know what's going on, and they basically state the same thing. He shouldn't be in that position. If you look at his history, that's not the position that he should have. He's not worthless. It's just that I don't feel like he's equipped. I'm not the only one, but he's not equipped with the proper experience to be running a pinball company, manufacturing. There's other roles that I'm pretty sure he could do great, just not this one. I really just don't know how much longer Amtron is willing to fit the bill for American Pinball. It's like there's only so many times that they can, take a loss on their taxes and everything. At some point, you can't do that anymore. So I think it's only a matter of time. The writing is on the wall that Amtron needs to drop them. And it sucks. I don't want to see any pinball company expire, go bankrupt, go out of business. I don't want that. I don't. I want them to do good. I want them to create games that the rest of us want. But if you go by their history and all the little bullet points and data that I've got right here, it doesn't look good. But I'm hearing also that AP does have a new buyer. And this is through the grapevine talk right here, so it's nothing hard and confirmed yet on that. But I am told that a new buyer is either interested or things are being worked out in this current point in time. I'm also told that their other licenses, meaning their AP, their other licenses after Cuphead are supposedly up for grabs. So here we are, on the cusp of their next release, possibly their last release. And it's like, do you think that Cuphead could be their saving grace? I doubt it. They've got a lot going against them. And I have a couple of bullet points right here of what I think those are. One, I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. Their only designer they have at this current point in time, that's the thing also, is that their staff it's a very small team. So with that, they've only got one designer on their payroll, and that's Ryan McQuay. And he's nothing against him personally, but he's not a veteran designer. He has created the Sonic Spinball homebrew pinball machine. I really enjoyed the game, mainly for the nostalgia feel. It wasn't the greatest shooter. It definitely is more than what I've done, so I'm not judging that. I'm just saying that he doesn't have that much experience to basically say, oh, it's a shoo-in, he's good to go. Because we don't have any other information on him and what he's done. Even if he was to release Cuphead and it shoots good, it's not going to be an immediate like, oh, he's a great designer. I mean, for instance, Jack Danger, I would say officially now, after seeing X-Men and playing it, I would consider him a good designer. I didn't consider him that after Foo Fighters. I figured like, oh, he did good. But now after a couple of games under his belt, I think we can officially say that Jack has proven himself. So even if he creates this game, strikes oil, all that, he's still limited to his experience. And along with being limited, another thing against him is being limited on their BOM, their build of materials. Unless Amtron is willing to go, here's all the money you need to make a game, to pack it full of cool things, and to make this something that the masses are going to want, I don't see that happening. I kind of think that maybe Amtron should do this as one last hoorah. Like, all right, we're going to give you everything that you need to basically make yourself sustainable on this game. This could be their final, like, this is what we got to do in order to basically stay up and keep going, is by making a game that finally turns a profit. So in a way, I kind of hope that Amtron did give them everything that they possibly need to make this game amazing. I would love for Cuphead to be an amazing game. Now, not a lot of you know the theme and stuff like that, but what if Ryan does create something that's very fun to shoot? What if we have finally received some sort of mechanism inside there that works well and just is a great world underneath glass? Do you think that's going to be enough to keep them going, though? Would one game be enough to save American Pinball? And again, to finish this video off, I do not want American Pinball to fail. I don't. They have made some great quality stuff when it comes to build quality. I think you're going to have, obviously, some one-offs here and there with people having some issues with their games, but I want to say majority of it has been great build quality. We know that you do care about what you make. It's just that you keep making a bad decision here and there on every game you release. We know that you loved Barry Ausler and you wanted to honor him. The bad decision there is that you put too much weight on his name and the fact that you didn't have to pay any licensing fees. It's like no one outside of the hobby knows who Barry Ausler is. Yes, you care about him, David. Yes, you care about him. I get that in every interview that I've heard you with. And I understand that. That's awesome. We know that Barry was a great person. And you wanted to create a game to honor him and stuff. But you put all that weight and effort into a game with his name on it that no one really wanted. There could have been more underneath the glass. I think that's what that game was missing, was some sort of nifty looking mech. Something. It just feels a little empty. And then you have other games that get released that are cheaper, like Ninja Eclipse, for crying out loud. They don't have licensing fees either, but they've got a hell of a lot more underneath their glass at a cheaper price. Now, I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers with this video, and that's fine. I wouldn't have it any other way. And again, I have to reiterate, I wish no ill will towards American Pinball. I wish them the best. I hope that going forward, the decisions that get made are good ones. And I hope that your next game, and potentially any other game that you make after that, are good. And that people actually want them. That would be great. We're just going to have to wait and see what you've got going on. So guys, with all the information that I've given you here, as well as your own personal experiences, let me know in the comment section down below what your thoughts and feelings are with AP, where they should go from here, what needs to be done, what could they do to improve, to make it to where they can survive. Don't forget to check out my 10K subscriber t-shirt. Links will be in the video description down below, guys. And until next time, peace out. So this is where we're at. American Pinball / David Fix / Amtron / potential buyer that may be in the works. This is more than likely your last chance. Cuphead is going to be a make or a break for you. Unless money just doesn't matter and you're just going to keep getting fed the cash from your parent company, might as well be Jersey Jack at this damn point.